All right, Crossverses battle for y'all on this Monday, and I have one character. Benimaru, Benimaru from Fire Force versus Black Star and Mifune from Soul Eater. You can say it's the same verse, kind of is and kind of ain't. It is because at the end of Fire Force, Shinra created. But we're just gonna call it a cross versus battle, because they never met each other. I don't think they'll ever meet, except in this battle, right? We'll have it taking place in Fire Force first. So they'll fight in Asakusa in the first scenario. In the second scenario, they'll fight at the DWMA, the Death Meister Academy, right? This Meister Weapon Academy in the second scenario. So in the first scenario, we got strength, raw physical strength. Goes to Benimaru here. Both of those characters are pretty strong in Soul Eater, physically. But Benimaru, he's a little bit above that, if you ask me. When it comes to raw strength, striking power, lifting power, he has to beat. When it comes to speed, he also fast. Not as fast as Shinra, but fast enough to, dodge their attacks and, parry their attacks and all that stuff, man. When it comes to durability, he also more durable than they are. It'll be harder to damage him than it'll be for him to damage those two. When it comes to endurance, I also got Benimaru. Now, he could suffer from Tephirosis, but we've seen, he never got that. He came close when he was, a little younger, and Conroe had to fight the demon instead of him. But that was only one time, and that was like in the past. He ain't like that. Not even in this fight. He don't have to worry about that too much. These guys, they don't fight too long. I don't recall them fighting in battles that were too drug out. I see him having better endurance than both of those boys. Now, when it comes to intelligence, the Black Star can put his ego aside a little bit and listen to Mifune. Or Mifune also can understand the type of guy Black Star is, and they can come up with a plan that, they can damage Benimaru, They can figure out a way to damage him. I think those two heads working together is slightly smarter. Bit smarter than Benimaru. But Benimaru has more experience than both of them. When it comes to close skills, I'll give it to those two. They're going to be coming up on Benimaru. Benimaru's, a guy who runs up on people too. He got some fucking hands. He does. But I'll give it to these two. When it comes to the range skills, though, I have to give it to Benimaru. When he puts that fire out, that's output right there. It's powerful. Recovery goes to Benimaru. Like I said, he does suffer from Tephirosis, but those two boys, if they get damaged, they have no way of recovering from that. And then Benimaru is going to be a tough guy to even damage. And if he does get damaged, I don't know. He seems like the type to bounce back. And I ain't saying that Black Star can't bounce back. Black Star, he's a guy who can bounce back too. But I'm giving the edge to, Benimaru. When it comes to Axe, Benimaru has second and third gen pyrokinetic abilities. Now these two guys are swordsmen. They don't have fire abilities, but it don't matter. He can still do what he does with his abilities. He's martial arts, and basically, he's a swordsman too, but not. He ain't a swordsman. He uses his fire abilities in a way that mimics a Nichiren blade. You know, so he can keep up with these guys. They have their swordsmanship. Black Star has Masamune's enchanted sword move, right? That, as far as in the anime goes, he fully mastered it. He lost to Mifune, right? And Mifune has the 24 swords, and he knows how to use all 24, but I still give the edge to Benimaru because of the AP of those, attacks. And you know which one I'm talking about too. You know which one I'm talking about. Endurance, or my bad. Environment wise, I give it to Benimaru because it's Nasakusa in the first. And we give Benimaru mid to high difficulty. I respect the power of these Soul Eater characters, and I don't know about the manga. I really don't, but I understand that these people got pretty powerful too. We ain't using that here. Benimaru is gonna get rid of one of them first. He ain't gonna get rid of both of them at the same time. If he gets rid of Mifune first, it's still gonna be a fight. If he gets rid of so and so, it's still gonna be a fight. When he brings out those big boy, moves, it's over. You could easily get that mid difficulty if you want to. Now, in the second scenario, it's at the Deathmeister Weapons Academy. Benimaru has the strength, speed, durability, endurance. Intelligence-wise, it goes to the 2 minds. They'll try to come up with something. Once they figure out that doing their own thing ain't gonna work. Experience-wise, Benimaru has them. Close skills-wise, I'll give it to those two. Recovery or range skills first. I got Benimaru, recovery Benimaru, hacks Benimaru, and then environment will go to those two. Black Star and Mifune, but Benimaru wins mid to high difficulty. I might be respecting these Soul Eater characters a bit too much, but really, we'll say mid diff. I'm gonna just say mid diff. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and be cool on the corner. And watch Soul Eater too. It could get a comeback, a remake, with the end of Fire Force, or something else might happen. But I want a remake personally. I want that. With the same type of animation. Like, just give, whatever studio had Fire Force. I don't remember which one. My bad for not remembering. But give that studio Soul Eater and let them remake it. And I want them to remake all that material that wasn't done in the first anime adaptation. From the manga, adapt all that. Because I want to see that shit, man. But be cool on the corner and let me know what you think in the comments below about how this fight goes.